Give me the name again, Mr. Dempsey, on the phone. Is this Pat Dempsey on the phone? Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're the former manager of the restaurant. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, what can you tell us about what you know about the situation, especially given what's going on right now down in Covington?
Well, by the looks of it, I'm watching it as we speak. It must not have drifted too far because of the electricity that they still have. The lines, when it would flood to about 62 feet, that's when we were concerned about disconnecting electricity. I'm not sure what the flood stage is right now, but it doesn't have a lot of room to allow it to drift downriver before you lose that electricity. So I don't believe it drifted too far. By the looks of it, it looks like it lost the main ramp to the complex, and it probably slipped off the barriers. But it looks stable, and usually we were hit on New Year's Eve one year by a drifting barge, and when other barges come to, or tugboats I should say, come to the rescue, they're usually able to secure a boat like that pretty easily and make sure that it doesn't drift anymore, and I'm sure that's what they've done now.
All right, Mr. Dempsey, that seems to confirm what we suspected. We're now looking, by the way, at a picture of one of the tugboats getting into position. We were talking just a moment ago about that umbilical that comes from shore. Obviously, the restaurant does not create its own internal power. You get the power from shore, and that umbilical has a fixed length. We were saying that just a moment ago. The river stage right now is about 10 feet below what you said was that maximum sort of stretch of 62 feet. The river stage right now is at 52 feet. So that would seem to indicate, as you said, that it didn't drift all that far. Can you tell me, obviously you must have gone through safety drills for this exact scenario. What is the drill, and what are sort of the backup resources that the restaurant has for this exact situation?
Yes, there are safety drills that we had in place from the day it was open. Matter of fact, when we were hit on the New Year's Eve by a runaway barge that came from the Licking River, it was we had people exiting from all three ramps. Back then there was Las Brisas, if you remember, the outdoor club, and you could exit from the far end of the building. So there is in place very good emergency exit procedures. And now, given the fact that the main ramp fell, they still have one other that the fire marshal usually makes us have open. We have to have two at least. We have three, but when the water gets up this high, we go down to two that the fire marshal has us. So we would have had one down at the far west end of the waterfront that would have that you would have exited from the kitchen end, and then the main one that it appears to look like that's the one that fell off the breaker.
All right, one quick question, Mr. Dempsey. What is the capacity of the restaurant if you had every seat filled with a customer?
300.
Okay, 300. So to hear that perhaps 150 people are on board on a Friday night, even given the flooding situation, wouldn't be out of the question.
No, and then, of course, you have upstairs, which used to be a nightclub, but is now private parties. I don't believe, well, it doesn't sound like they may have had too many private parties if they only have 150 people on board.
Sure. One other thing, you mentioned the three ramps. How many moorings are there? I mean, the question is, obviously there isn't just one mooring. It sounds like several of these would have had to fail in succession, correct?
No, not necessarily. It appears just the middle one, from what I can see by looking at your station. But for it to move, I would assume maybe the one that is on the east end of the building may have come loose too. And I have a feeling that because electricity is on the west end of the building, that it may have moved away from the shore by the middle and the east end one, and possibly that's what they're saying struck the bridge.
Was there ever a study done of any kind to indicate? Obviously, we knew that you knew the river height of 62 feet would be essentially too far to get electricity. But was there ever any study or research done to say how high does the river have to go before we say, you know what, it's just not safe to operate?
Well, when it got up that high when I was there, the city came in and just closed the flood walls.
Got you. Mr. Dempsey, I have with me Steve Norris, our meteorologist, would like to ask you a question. If we can open Steve's mic and if you wouldn't mind answering a question from him.
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. Dempsey, I was just curious. I just learned actually in recent days that you guys had purchased this new ramp or new walkway that allowed you to stay open much later than you had in previous years. When did that change occur? I know in the past you guys would start closing the restaurant when it got up to, I guess, in the mid-40s. And now we're at 55.2 feet, so we're more than 3 feet over flood stage. They were just beginning to close the flood wall gates today. When did that change take place?
I'm not sure of them purchasing anything new. What was done in the past was we had rented more or less rampage that would extend from the ramp that we have and go to the upper parking lot. Since I have left, they've purchased, instead of renting every year, economically it was more feasible to purchase the that ramp, and they've had that for some time.
And it's
now,
I'm sorry, it's my understanding too that you were that the Waterfront was the only restaurant remaining open. The beer cellar had closed long ago, several feet ago, as far as the river's concerned. The Hooters restaurant had closed. Mike Fink, it's closed for reconstruction, so it wasn't open. But is that correct, though, that that was the only restaurant open at this time?
I believe so. I knew Hooters had closed, but the Waterfront sits a little higher up than the other ones. So we were not, when you go upriver, you sit a little bit lower. So the water, where we could be open to, 58 feet, pushing 60 feet, the other ones couldn't just because of how they were more into the shore. It just didn't allow them. Jeff was good in his due diligence when he had built the place to make sure that it was safe enough and he could remain open at higher stage, and that area of the banks allowed him to stay open at higher levels.
Another question for you. Of course, when the river is high like this, muddy, what have you, there's a tremendous amount of debris that floats down the Ohio River. It often catches up around these barges and creates a tremendous load on the barge. Can you talk a little bit about that? We did a live shot, Adam Marshall here from 9 News did a live shot just yesterday, I believe it was. Looks like we've lost the picture. Now we're back on our Skycam 9 picture there. If we still have you, Mr. Dempsey, just explain about how you guys go about removing the debris. How concerned are you with that debris and the load that it creates on a barge such as this?
It does build up, but at a regular basis, and again, I haven't been there in a few years, but always when I was there, Jeff would have hire out. Usually a lot of help came from B&B riverboats, and they would come down with a tug and literally push that debris away from the front of the barge, and that was done on a regular basis. So they did not, they never let it build up much before they pushed it out. But yeah, you do get a lot of debris coming out of the Licking River, and more now than normal because the Finks doesn't have as much the outdoor patio that it did, so that usually caught a lot of the stuff that came out of the Licking.